Welcome back. In today's video, I'm going to talk all about migrating from Notion over to Tana, what the differences are, what the similarities are, and what to do if you feel a bit lost. Hey there, my name's Ev Chapman, and in today's video, we are talking all about how to migrate from Notion over to Tana. So if you have been bitten by the Tana bug and you want to see what it's all about, and you're coming over from Notion and you're thinking, oh, what is this? Then I have got you covered in today's video. So I've been a Notion ambassador for just coming on 2 years now, and I have a lot of experience building in Notion, helping people use Notion, creating products in Notion. And so I love Notion for that. And I love the structure that Notion can bring. And that's one of the reasons that I started using Notion in the first place. But I also have a lot of experience in using block-based or node-based note-taking tools. So I started using Roam over a year ago now as a journal, and then started to build some products and started to build some workflows in Roam. And I love it for the flow that you can get from it. So obviously, when I found Tana, I thought this is a marriage made in heaven. And so I've been using Tana now for about 3 months. And what I found is that a lot of people who have been used to using Notion coming into Tana and just wondering like, oh, where do I start? Like, because there is a little bit of a shift to make when you're coming over from Notion into Tana, and there's some mindset shifts that you're going to have to make it work for you. But I promise that at the end of the day, you're actually going to love the flow that it can bring. And I think that Notion users have a distinct advantage over everyone else because they already understand structured data. They don't call it ontologies, and you know how to already view data. You view it in different ways. And so Notion has taught you a lot about how to structure data. Tana is now going to teach you a lot about how to work in flow and how to add things from almost anywhere, or actually anywhere, in your workspace. So what we're going to cover today is a couple of different mindset shifts, some practical, like here's how to take this database and make it something in Tana, and then some other kind of practical ways of like, what's this in Notion and how does that relate in Tana? So let's jump in. All right, so the first big mindset shift that you're going to have to make is in Notion, what you do is you build a database, you add fields, and then you add items to that database. In Tana, that is actually shifted the other way. So you create items, then you add fields, and then items come together into a view that you call database. So basically, Notion, you're saying database, fields, item. In Tana, you're adding items, fields, and then building that into a database. It's going to feel strange at first, and you're going to wonder, is this going to get to the right place? Like, can I just put this here on this page and tag it, and then it goes somewhere? So that's going to feel strange at first, but by the end of it, it's going to feel so natural because you can just be working, you can be writing, you can be working on a project, you can be doing anything and add an item somewhere else. And I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks of Notion that I hear from so many people is I have to do too many clicks around to add things in. And so in Tana, you don't actually have to do that. You can add a database item from anywhere you are. So the second big mindset shift that you're going to have to make is in Notion, everything has a place and you go to that place to put it in. In Tana, everything is a node and any node can be turned into the item that you want. So basically you can add anything anywhere in Tana and you can tag it and it goes to the collection of that tag. Okay, so think about it as being able to add an item to a database from anywhere you are. This is going to feel strange at first as well, because you sit there wondering, is that really going to get to the place that I want it to go to? But I promise you it does, and I promise you that it will start to feel really natural. Let's have a look at what this looks like practically by actually migrating something from Notion over into Tana. Let's say you have a simple kind of database that looks like this, right? It's a table that's set up, maybe it's got projects in it, and it's got a few fields. Like I said, the mindset shift is to say, okay, I have a database that I've got set up. How you want to then move over to Tana is to create your items, make those items into super tags, configure the super tags with your fields, and then we're going to build the actual database view, okay? So that's kind of the steps that you want to take. So let's just take one of the items here, okay? So let's take this last one, and we're just going to just put it into any node in your Tana. I'm at the top level, but you could be anywhere, okay? Then we're going to give this a super tag. So think of super tags as databases. So any database that you have in Notion, you can bring over into Tana, give it a super tag, and that's your database. We're going to give this node the super tag of projects because that's our database here, okay? So basically databases, I mean, when you think of it, is just a collection of items, right? Even in Notion. So think about it that way and it'll make more sense to you. So to create a super tag, you just have to go hashtag and then type the name of it. And then you end up creating this, okay? So it turns into a project. Okay, it's a thing. So once you've done that, then you can see it's still just an empty node, doesn't have anything in it, right? So the way to then configure it is to come and click on your project, super tag, and press configure. That's going to then bring up your template area, and this is where we can then start to add the fields that make up our database. So come up here, you can, so in this project we have, I just have status, but let's say we have status and due date. So the status here is not started, in progress, and done. So we're going to do the same here. Now, in Tana, you also have different field options. So the same as you have in Notion. So there's a plain one, which is kind of anything. So you can add text, you can add numbers, you can add anything you want. Options, which is the same as options or status over in Notion. You have instance, which is kind of like our relation field in Notion. So if you want to relate to another database or another item in a database, you would use an instance. You've got dates, you've got numbers, users, URL, email, and checkbox. So there's still some that are probably missing and notably probably formula, but I'll talk about some of those differences later on in the video. So we're just going to go ahead and choose options, okay? You'll see that a new field gets set up, and we're going to call this status, and we're just going to create a new status, okay? So once you've done that, then we need to actually go and configure that field. So the way to configure any field is to click on the icon to the left and then put in the top box here your predetermined options. Okay, so you basically have to tell Tana what the options are, same as you would in Notion. So we're going to say not started, in progress, and complete. All right, once we've done that, we'll just close that up so we have a bit more room. You can open this up and you can see already we've got the status field and we've got a drop down. Okay, so then if you want to always, let's say you want to add an item and you always want it to start as not started, you can add a default that says not started. You can see straight away that adds it. So if there's if you've created any items and they don't have a default field already set up, it will automatically set it up for you. And then anything new that you add, so let's say we add project 3 and then we tag it. If we open it up, we can see it's not started. And let's say this one is in progress and we change that. Okay, so now we're starting to get a few items. So let's say the next field that you want is a due date. Just going to come here and go date, and then we're going to call that due, and we're going to create it. All right. And so then you can see that adds it in, okay? So we don't have to go back and add any fields, it's already added in for us. All right, wonderful. So now we have our projects super tag. We can add any more projects that we want, and they all start to come up. So that's all well and good, but I know what you're saying. You can't have items just plastered everywhere all over your workspace. You probably need a place to collect them, just like you do in Notion. And so again, this comes back to the mindset of in Notion, you set that space up first and then you add your items. In Tana, we add the items and then we set up that space. And the way that we do that, so if ever you want to add kind of a database view, you're going to do that with a live search in Tana. So the way to do a live search is to use our Command K menu. So Command K is going to bring up any are any of the functions that you can do in Tana. So anytime that you're wondering, how do I do this, just Command K it, and you'll get a and you'll get a whole list of things. But what we want to do is we want to find. Okay, so it's always the first on the list. So find nodes. We want to find nodes with the tag projects. Okay, and then we're just going to view that as a list. What that's going to do is anywhere projects are, anywhere we've entered any of these projects, they are going to come and be listed together in this live search. So you can rename this live search just like you would rename a view over in Notion. And so we're just going to call this our projects list. Maybe it's the master. Okay, it's got everything. If we wanted to kind of filter and kind of create, let's say we only want to see, or let's say we don't want to see any that are complete. Let's say this one is complete, okay? So you can come into your live query, you just click on that, and then you can add either like an and or not command. So we're going to say not, and then we're going to add our field in, which is status, okay? It's the one that's in projects. And we're going to say this one is not complete. And then we're just going to go done. Okay, oops. And clear. So you can see now all we're seeing is anything that is either not started or in progress. And so then it's a matter of setting up the different views that you want for this, okay? So just like you would over here in Notion, you've got your layouts, so table, board, timeline, calendar, list, and gallery. You have views in Tana. Now, some of the ones that you're going to miss is timeline and calendar. They're not part of Tana at the moment, but you get a table. You can look at things as a gallery or a board and as a list, okay? So if we wanted to view this, if we want to view this as a table, we could easily do that. If we want to view it as cards, we could do that, which is your gallery view. And then if we wanted to turn it into a board, all we would have to do is come over here to group and group it by status. Okay, and suddenly we get our nice little board here. And you can add as many of these database views or live searches as you want. Okay, so let's say this is our master projects list, but then you wanted to add another list where you could just see things that are in progress. So you would do the same. Command K, find nodes with the tag projects, and then you're going to say with field status is in progress, and then you're going to do a list. And then you're going to say this is in progress lists, in progress projects, okay? So now you have kind of master projects, in progress projects, you could have complete projects, however you like to kind of set up your database views in Notion. You would do exactly the same thing in Tana. But what you can see here is I'm working at the very top level of my Tana. So in Tana, everything is a node. If you click on your very top level, okay, usually it'd be your name, you'll get your top level node. That is then everything that you see in your sidebar, okay? But then I can go into any of these and I can click in and kind of zoom in on any different node and whatever is indented under that node. So what happens is, as you're starting to kind of build these things out, your sidebar starts to get a little bit crazy, and I know for a lot of Notion users you're not going to like this. So the way to think of it is that once you have a few different searches, you might want to group those searches into kind of a hub, okay? So let's say we want to kind of group these into our project hub, okay? Project hub. All you then need to do is just select the nodes that you want to indent under and just press tab, okay? And so straight away, those kind of searches disappear and you just get your project hub. And if you clicked on project hub, you just zoom in to see those two searches. Now, if you don't want to see it as a node and you prefer to kind of have the look of Notion of these kind of tab views, it's really easy, okay? So all you have to do is go to your cogwheel and go to Tana Labs and make sure that tabs view is on, okay? Just make sure it has a tick. Then come up to whichever kind of like title node that you have and use your Command K and press tab and go view as tabs. Okay, and then suddenly now you have your master projects list and your in progress projects, and then you can add whatever other tabs that you want across the top And so now you start to build some of kind of these kind of pages in Notion. So if you have a whole lot of pages in Notion that then have databases inside with different views, this is how to do it. Okay, so come to your top level and start to group a whole lot of live searches together and turn those into tabs. And Tana live searches have almost all the same functionalities as any of the databases, okay? So you can filter, all right? So you can filter by any of your fields in Tana. You can also sort by any field. You can have things display or not display, just like you would over here in properties. You can group things together, and so these databases are almost similar to what you will find in Notion. Now, the one thing that Notion doesn't have that Tana does have is what we call the daily page. So your daily page can act as just a dumping ground for everything that you need to dump in. It can also act as a journal. It can also act as a way to kind of organize and plan your day. So if you need some ideas around how to use your daily page, then I just filmed a video just the other day about what's currently on my daily page that I think you will love. But what I have found is the daily page really replaced that kind of central dashboard in Notion, where I was trying to kind of bring in kind of the tasks for the day and current projects and content I was working on. All of that now comes into one place on the daily page every day. All right, so another couple of little things about how Tana works that you might want to know about is, one, you have the schema. Schema is where you have all of your super tags. So some people that I know like to keep this tidy. I don't. I just throw everything in and it doesn't matter to me. Anything that is under the hood, I just don't keep tidy because I don't need to. But you might be the kind of person who wants to just organize things, and so you can actually move these around. You can actually group these together. Okay, so you might have this as kind of your tweet stuff. So you can actually do anything that you want with the schema. It's just a place where all of your super tags will live. So the library is a place where if a node doesn't live somewhere, okay, so like originate somewhere, it will originate here in the library. Most of the time, your nodes are going to live on a daily page. They're going to live somewhere, but if they don't, they'll land here in the library. To me, it doesn't really matter whether a node is in the library or whether it's on my daily page or whether it's somewhere else in my workspace, because all of those nodes then get collected into those live searches somewhere. So for me, I don't really bother with the library, but some people might want to bother with it or go through it every now and then. But I would suggest as you're building, just use your daily page and then tag things and get them to the database views that you want them to go to. Some things that you might miss from Notion coming into Tana is, one, formulas. If you do have a lot of database with formulas, then there is no formulas currently in Tana and you're going to miss that. So there's some things that I currently still keep in Notion just because I use a lot of formulas to make them happen. But I do know that that's something that the team is working on and aware of, and they want to kind of build. The second thing is, if you are into aesthetic Notion, then you're going to struggle coming into Tana. So Tana is basically very text heavy. You can add images in, but it doesn't have that same page layout that you would have in Notion. So if that's a heavy part of your workflow, you're going to miss that. But I promise you, what you're going to love in Tana is just the flow that you can get in working and in writing and in creating. The third thing is lack of an actual mobile app. I do have Tana installed on my phone. I use it mostly as a reference if I need to find something or look something up in my Tana workspace. Currently, Tana on iPad is a little iffy. So if the iPad is a big part of your workflow, you're probably going to miss that. Hopefully that's given you a really, really good overview into how to migrate from Notion over into Tana, some of the differences, some of the similarities, and how to actually build out a workspace that is very similar to the one that you already have in Notion. If you have any questions, you want me to dive into anything further, please leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel because I create videos about Tana all the time. And if you want to shorten the learning curve of getting into Tana, then check out my course Tana Fast Track, in which I show you 5 of my top workflows and use cases, and you can actually get them straight into your workspace and get working really fast. Some people have done the course in a weekend and then got back to work on Monday and just had their Tana dialed in and working. So if that's of interest to you, then click the link below and I would love to see you on the inside.